What's going on, YouTube? Andre here again from Card Games United, showing off the most fun deck ever in Standard. Fight me on this.
Ooh, I will.
The most fun deck to play in Standard right now, Pale Moon. And it's in an Excel clan, you know.
So you get how many retire options does it have?
0.
Then it's not the most fun.
Hey, it's got a lot of combo options.
I am a control player, goddammit.
It's your starter. I think we already know what this guy does.
You can, there's literally nothing interesting about this card.
Yeah, there's not even another option you could run.
Oh, there is technically Lark Pigeon.
Yeah.
Wait, has that come out in English?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
4 copies of our lovely Golden Beast Tamer. I wish I had the SVRs of these, but I kind of just like having multiple base rated decks and like one maxed out.
Well, because this is, she's like a $25 card, something like that, and even in that rarity.
Yeah. So, if you don't know what she does, this is your combo extender. I hate when people use her as a combo starter, except, I mean, she's a combo starter when you're going up against, like, Shadows or Kagero, and they're just, like, retiring.
From what I've seen, it's sort of, you make hash with what you've got, because, like, her skill is versatile enough that she can function either way.
Yeah.
But in the ideal situation, you would be using her as an extender.
Yeah, and this deck needs to have this on as the Vanguard. So this is kind of just like you ride your Golden Beast Tamer or die kind of situations. Because if you don't know what she does, her first skill, if you have 5 or more units, or she counts herself, your front row gets 3k, which is nice to hit against Force Clans. You have to be careful though, because unlike Maelstrom, which is why I think actually the point you made when I did my Aquaforce deck profile, I was like, oh, Golden Beast Tamer's better. You're like, but Maelstrom always keeps his 3k, it doesn't rely on 5k. So it doesn't turn off, but this does. So you have to be careful with your combos, because you might not hit certain numbers that you thought you would. And the second skill is what we run her for. When she attacks, counterblast 1, put a card from your hand into your soul, and you can call up 2 cards from your soul to regard circles. So again, it's versatile enough to be a combo starter, because you could fill your board up and get an extra attack or 2 off those 2 calls, or it could be a combo extender. When you've already had like 4 or 5 attacks, you can be versatile enough just to call more combo pieces on the board. The cost of putting a card into your hand makes this deck probably the most glass cannon out there, maybe until we get Cold Paladins. Even worse than, like, hand size is actually worse than Aquaforce right now, which is interesting. So it does require you to run a little more draws, but that cost can also be helpful when you put like a Jumping Jill or a Nightmare Doll Alice into the soul, so you could really go either way with this card, but you do need to run 4 of her.
Well, I don't think you could go either way. I think she is purely excellent.
Yeah. She's a great multi-attacking engine. Next, you run 3 copies of Nightmare Doll Alice. If you run 4, I don't think you'd be wrong, but just, you know, because I want to have 9 grade 2, 9 grade 3s, and this is Golden Beast Tamer's obviously 4 of, and the next card's good 2 of.
Just to make your ratios work right.
Yeah. And plus you soul charge enough where you see this card enough. So this card is one of your main combo pieces. So she does have the Excel gift, so if you do ride her, it's not the end of the world, and she does give you something when you ride her on the Vanguard circles. You can call a worker roid and give a 5k, so you do get a +1. I think the only worker roid, though, worth calling is, like, Jumping Jill, and I think Nitro Dragolor's a worker roid. But the second skill is what you run her for, so on the Regard circle after she attacks, you counterblast 1 Soul Blast when you put her into the soul, and you call a non-grade 3 unit to your Regard. So, I kind of just hate the fact that Pale Moon has Soul Blast cost, but I could also see it as a way of balancing it. But you can usually
always blast out your starter, right? Because you're not.
Yeah, your starter only triggers you Soul Charge, but you have to see those pieces as Soul Charge in the first place. Otherwise, you can be in a bit of a difficult position because of that cost. But I mean, just the combo extenders that she does herself are just like what you run this for, right? Like. Being able to call like a Jumping Jill or like maybe a Purple Trapeze that like an Amaranth Beast Tamer could just absorb and get you another attack is just like all around great. So you run this card at least at 3. I've seen people run at 2. I don't really agree with that, or not at all. You need to run this card or else your deck's not that good.
Did you ever experiment with the what's the other one called?
Artilleryman?
Artilleryman.
Yeah, he's garbage. Don't run him.
Okay.
That's why we're running 2 Comicality Chimera. This is your other grade 2, so he doesn't give you the Excel marker, so do not ride this at all if your life depends on it. So when he attacks, you can Soul Blast 1, and you put a rearguard into your soul. Now, that cost of putting a rearguard into the soul is important, because what can it put in? Purple Trapezist, which gets another card out. And he gains 5k, and you countercharge if you haven't countercharged this turn. So it's basically... I run this over Artilleryman because this acts as a combo extender. Because it can both absorb the Purple Trapezist, which can Soul Blast yourself out to call something else out, and it can also countercharge if you need to get like an extra counterblast for an Atlas during your turn. So it's a really solid 2-of option. You could run Artilleryman, but I personally think the card is garbage, because something that the opponent can just be like, oh, no guard, haha, now you can't counterblast, and your entire soul is going to just a really bad option. Like, most lists, I think, I've settled on this over Artilleryman. Like, I could see the merit of just like running it because you could easily be like 30 or 40k, but just like the downsides.
I do see people arguing for it. I see it in more like full aggro builds where it's like they want to be able to still keep pressure on even if they misride.
Yeah, I mean, because he does give you an Excel marker, and like he's also just big enough where he's the only card in the deck that can probably ignore a damage check trigger.
So if you're running like full crit and just trying to be like, I'm gonna punch him in the face fast and hard, it's kind of worth it, I think.
But I don't know. This guy, I think, just being a combo extender, I think the upside of running him is just much greater than like the downside of running Artilleryman. So that's why I settle on this card. The next, for a grade 2, though, they probably could have made a triple R, actually, because it's so good. And we still would have gone for it. Jumping Jill.
Well, who are they going to take the other triple R away from? Murakumo?
Probably at that point.
Just make the deck entirely double R.
Yeah, so this is one of your best cards in the deck. She's a worker, so she can be called by Alice's ability. This is probably the card you want to get Ride, because you just want her in the soul, because when she's called from the soul, you can choose to put another rearguard into your soul, and she calls a non-grade 2 into your back row. So her ability alone can make combos, or can help create columns that can easily hit above like 22.
Also has probably the most interesting ban I've seen in the card game so far.
Yeah, you can't run her with the old Purple Trapezist.
Yep.
But that cost is also important because, again, it can put Purple Trapezist in your soul and get an extra attack as well as creating just an extra column, so...
because damn you, Bushiroad doesn't want infinity power.
Nope. But yet they don't ban Gizane Premium, whatever. But...
well, it's still not infinite.
It's just a problem card.
It's just annoying.
But, yeah, if you run this at 4, if you're not running it, I don't know what you're doing.
Probably playing a deck that isn't Pale Moon.
Yep. Next, actually, people go back and forth on this card.
Well, this is your soul charge option, right?
Yeah, so when he's placed from hand, like I said, Duno is placed from hand. You look at the top 2 cards of your deck, and you put one into your soul, and you put the other at the bottom. I see people argue that this... I see people not want to play this card, because like sometimes you do get into situations where like you get 2 triggers, and like putting that other trigger on the bottom of your deck, so you're never going to see it again.
Aren't all the other options just like power attackers and things, though?
Pretty much. You have the counter-charging grade 2, which I don't think is very good because it only happens at the end of the turn. You have to have no face-down damage.
Oh, right. Dancing Knife Dancer.
And I think the other one is like Box Tamer, which I also just think is a bad card, like Artilleryman, because like you don't want to call things out of your soul that early because your pieces in your soul are your combo pieces.
Well, again, that's for more of like a full aggro build where you just want to like rush down face.
Yeah. So, I mean, this guy's just like the most stable option for me. Because even if you do have to soul charge a trigger, I mean, you can just use it for the soul blast cost of like Alice or Chimera, so it's not awful. And he also works when placed on the Vanguard, so that's just an extra bonus to him. And next we run 4 copies of our lovely Amaranth Beast Tamer. So when she attacks a Vanguard, you choose a unit from your rearguard circle and put into your soul, and she gains 3k till the end of the turn. So by herself, she's good to hit that 15k number, which boosted by an 8k makes 23. Hits force numbers when combined with Golden Beast Tamer. But also, she puts Purple Trapezist into the soul with her cost, which is why we run her. Because all she does is put Purple Trapezist in soul. Speaking of the card that I've been mentioning all the time, it's Purple Trapezist. Our lovely Triple R, grade 1, so she's only a 7k base, but her ability is so good that you can justify it being 7k. Because when she's put into the soul from the rearguard circle, you can soul blast a card Purple Trapezist in the name, and it even specifies you can use the cards the cards you put into your soul is the cost. And you can call a unit and get to the rearguard circle. So it's basically calling an extra attack. Your prime target is actually Nightmare Doll Alice, because then Alice turns into another attack, because you could probably call this out, and if you have like something like a Beast Tamer that hasn't attacked yet, you could loop it even more. So, like, you run this card as a 4, but if you're not running it as a 4, I don't know what you're doing, because she's like one of your main combo extenders during the battle phase. I sent her a lot of my card choices are, can this card put purple trapezes into the soul, so I can just maybe easily get like 9 or 10 attacks off in a turn if everything is going right. So I love her. You run her at 4. Your grade 1 ride that you want to be going for every time. Starting presenter. So when he's placed from hand, Vanguard or Rhaegar Circle, you soul charge 1, which is really nice. And when you ride on top of him, you put a card into your soul, from your hand into your soul, which again fuels up the soul with combo pieces, and you can call it, and you soul charge the top card of your deck. You can choose to call it to Rearguard Circle, so if it's like an Alice, it's actually kind of hilarious on your grade 2 turn, just to have an Alice there, already ready to swing. Or, you know, if you don't want to call, you keep into soul, so it can basically help set up your soul early game, especially with Nitro Juggler. So you want to be riding this every time. Next, and I love these hot stamps. Like, Fushura just did a really nice job on this art. 4 copies of Midnight Bunny. Card's super good. When she boosts, you can soul charge 1. So that's really nice. It's a great soul charging engine. And the second skill just provides so much pressure, so when the attack that she boosted hits, doesn't say Vanguard, which is really nice. You can counterblast when you put her back into soul, you can call something else out. So it's just that extra pressure of like an extra attack during the battle phase that she provides that a lot of, and especially just putting this behind like Golden Beast Tamer.
It was one of those cards where they did just lift the original effect straight from the original series, and we're like, oh, this still works.
Yeah, like, you run this at 4 because you don't really have any other options. Like, I've seen people run the grade 1 where you rest it and you can soul charge 1. But I just think that this grade 1 lineup is already perfect as it is, so.
Oh yeah, Yellow Bolt in a dress.
Mm-hmm.
Poor guy.
Sugar lineup. 6 crit. 2 vanilla draws. 4 draw PGs, and 4 heals. Crits just make more sense in this deck because the deck is a high roll deck, so just being able to like have the potential of just like dealing more than 1 damage to your opponent is crucial because the deck doesn't have a lot of survivability. The 6 draws are important because you do want to see those combo pieces, but also Golden Beast Hammer just eats up so much of your hand that like it's kind of a necessity just to make sure you don't die, and just be able to pay her cost consistently. And 4 heals because we like healing. This is actually probably one of those decks actually where I think you could probably just go like something like a crit 4 front, 4 draw, and I don't think you'd be wrong because like the deck has the worst hand size I think in standard, but I don't know. This trigger lineup's actually been working well for me, so I mean I wouldn't really change it at this point.
Especially with the way you've run the build, I doubt you'd want to go no guard with it because it's just
yeah,
a little too balanced this way, I think.
Yep. So,
alright. Matchups. How they do?
Pale Moon's an alright deck, in terms of the meta. I mean, I think you could bring it to a tournament and maybe do decently well with it. So, at least with this particular build, your worst matchups, or your force matchups, as any Excel deck is going to struggle against. Because you have such a difficult time, aside from maybe your first couple attacks, before Golden Beast Hammer attacks, of hitting the 23k mark, so like a damage check trigger could stop a lot of attacks out. So like, it's not maybe terrible because you're not wasting resources because a lot of your skills happen at the end of the battle phase. So it's not like Aqua Force where like you restand on a Tidal Assault and then the opponent hits a damage check trigger and you're like, well, I can't hit anymore. But like against Kagero and Shadows are your 2 toughest because they can just retire a lot of the things that you end up leaving on board, which the soul can only replace those so much, especially when your average hand size is like, I'm not even kidding you, 3 cards. I've seen Spikes be a little bit difficult for this to handle, but I mean, if you do go first against Spikes and Royals, I think you'll be okay. It does well against your Protect clans, though, like OTT, the Bugs, Grand Blue. It does phenomenal against your other Excel decks. This destroys Murakumo. it's going to do very well against. So against 2 of the 3 gifts, you'll do very well. I just think there's too much Shadow Paladins running around though, where I would confidently take this into a tournament and be okay with. Just because that matchup is just almost so unwinnable. But I mean, overall, the deck is fun. It's not half bad actually. So I'm pretty actually. I think this is one of the builds where I'm actually happy with, just because of how it's been running, because of how balanced it is for me. So I don't think I'll really be changing this up much. So that's really it I got for this right now. In terms of maybe next set's viability, I don't know, to be honest.
It is an interesting set, that next one, because it didn't really interact with a lot of things outside of just itself.
Yeah, so I mean, I think this deck has enough aggro where it could probably still do well. But overall, just watch out for shadows and you'll be fine.
Alright, your lucky number of the day is 12. Bye-bye.